Anyway, friendos, today we're going to be reviewing the latest episode in Arknights Perish in Frost Season 2 of the Arknights TV anime. I'm gonna have to say, friendos, this was not one of my favorite episodes. It's got pacing issues and tonal issues. The thing that carried it for me was definitely the character interactions. But they definitely rushed the pacing of this episode because they went through 5 different locations within 20 minutes of this episode. And it was a tonal whiplash from the ending of last episode. A lot of stuff had to either be cut out or stuff that would have made the world building more believable. It was put on the back burner, and I think it detracted from my personal enjoyment from the episode. The character interactions saved it for me. It was very good seeing the interactions that we've all been waiting for. Interactions between fan favorite characters. Let's move on to the spoiler discussion so we don't beat around the bush. So last episode, we ended it off with Chief Inspector Chen and the LGD that went with Rhodes Island towards a detached segment of Chernobog. We ended it with them looking out at Lungmen, and it was burning in the distance. And then there was a reunion shell fired at Chen and the LGD, and then it knocked her out. Cut to the next scene, we find Chen being woken up in a Rhodes Island cabin by Swire. We got an interaction between both of them with Hoshiguma coming in for the rescue because the two of them cannot be left in the room together alone or else they're just gonna have a big cat fight. It was very entertaining. Then we had an interaction between Chen and a Rhodes Island member that asked her why she left Amiya and Rhodes Island behind. And of course, Chen, being the pragmatic one, says that there's a sense of urgency being established, that Lungmen is in danger. We saw in the last episode that Reunion is invading Lungmen. We already saw what happened with Chernobog and what could potentially happen to Lungmen if left unprotected. So our guy at Rhodes Island is like, oh, well, of course you guys would abandon the infected. No one on Terra would put infected lives first over the lives of official citizens, and we'll get back to that later. We got a bit of characterization from Chen and a bit of characterization of the world because Terra in the world of Arknights is definitely not an egalitarian world. You could definitely understand from an infected person's point of view that infected people are most of the time treated as second-hand citizens or not at all. They're treated like animals. They're not even treated like real people. It's pretty easy to see the perspective of how easy it is to be radicalized towards a movement like Reunion. Reunion is technically an emancipation movement. It is a liberation movement seeking to right the perceived wrongs of what society has done towards infected people on Terra. This is the beginning of our characterization of Chen. Chen is a part of the system. We're moving on from Rhodes Island. There's supposed to be a sense of urgency, and then we got a few cuts going back into Lungmen, and the establishing shots that they use for the city. It's pretty quiet. It's pretty empty. It's pretty chill. We don't see a single Lungmen citizen. Lungmen is supposed to be analogous to modern-day Hong Kong. It's one of the densest places in the world. It has 7.5 million people in its population. Where the fuck are all of the Lungmen citizens? They started establishing that there was a sense of urgency, that Lungmen was in danger, and then once Chen got back to Lungmen, where are the citizens? More importantly, it's just empty. No one's on the road. No one's in the buildings. No one even cowering in fear. It was bad. The establishing shots of the scene, this scene and coming scenes are pretty bad. So after that, they're gonna go find their informant. They finally find him in a warehouse. He is dying, and this is when we finally get some more characterization from Hoshiguma. If anime onlys are not aware, Hoshiguma was an ex-mobster. The infected informant was actually one of her guys, one of her cohorts. The informant told them some important location coordinates that Tallulah herself gave to her commanders. This was really just a characterizing moment for Hoshiguma. She won't leave her goon behind even though he's already dying. And it goes back to the whole infected people aren't even allowed in Lungmen. Infected people are rejected from Lungmen or ignored or sent to the slums. The goon was infected. He would either have had to leave Lungmen or he had to become an informant for Chen, so Chen could use a bit of her authority to keep him. Hoshiguma would have also been forced to leave Lungmen and then join Rhodes Island so she could try to get him some treatment. Infected guy does not make it, unfortunately. They make their way to the location which the informant fought for, and it's Chen's old house. Within the game, this part is a lot longer, but here it's a lot more straightforward. Chen goes in, she breaks in, she explains that she doesn't have a good relationship with her father, she doesn't consider him her father. No reunion members are there. She finds an old photo framed of her and Tallulah, and then she asks why. She places the photo frame face down. And then she leaves with Hoshiguma. This is what Hoshiguma's goon died for. Hoshiguma, we found the important location. And then the scene was like barely 5 minutes long or something. I don't know. It felt barely longer than a couple of minutes. And all it did was explain, yes, okay, Chen has a childhood relationship with Tallulah. It's not explicitly explained here. Anime onlys could maybe use some context clues and try to figure out what that means. Why are they in a photo frame together? Hoshiguma's goon died so they could go to Chen's house for just a bit of exposition. How do we begin with this part? They fast travel to Paki Plaza. All I remember was, in the source material, Swire calls up Chen to be careful with the assets inside of the department store, and most specifically this piano that cost like over 1 million LMD, Lungmen dollars. The LGD uses that piano as cover against fighting Reunion, and then they wreck the piano. But here in the anime, it was just shown in a brief moment that the piano was already destroyed the moment they got there. There in Paki Plaza, the piano meme was a bit gutted, it got nerfed. The LGD taking down Reunion. We got one Reunion caster running away in terror, a female caster. She shrieked in terror. It was some good characterization that maybe Reunion aren't faceless, people after all. We got a bit of characterization and interaction between Chen and Hoshiguma. They passed by a clothing store, which is selling Vita Field merch. Hoshiguma was surprised that Chen might actually be into fashion. We got a siesta mention, with Hoshiguma mentioning that maybe after all of this, Chen should take a vacation somewhere to siesta. Like I'm saying, the little character interactions in this episode are what save it for me. Everything else is kinda not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of everything else. They encountered the last caster that ran away from the first encounter, and she blew herself up, but her final words were something along the lines of, "You're gonna pay for what you did to my friends." A bit of humanization there for Reunion. And then more Reunion members showed up. Chen had to defend Hoshiguma because Hoshiguma was wounded after the explosion. Chen said some embarrassing things to Hoshiguma, and Hoshiguma was pretty shook, like, "Chen, you said something fucking embarrassing. What?" Okay, that was kind of cute. Then the action cuts after Chen just jumped into the air and started attacking the Reunion members. We don't get to see the entire fight because we're speedrunning through all of this. We see the aftermath. Hoshiguma and Chen chilling out on the balcony, relaying back to Swire. I think they're relaying back to Swire. The LGD building has been taken over. They need to retake it back from Reunion. And that's where the episode ended. So anyway, that was episode 11 of Arknights Perish in Frost. All the events that happened in this episode could have been at least 2 episodes. It had breakneck pacing, and it definitely took away from a lot of the world building, but I get it. We're speedrunning 8 episodes through the Frost Nova arc. The pacing's not gonna be perfect. It could have been better. The character interactions were cute, and they were enjoyable. At least we got that. Chen is at the beginning of her character arc. We're gonna see more complex sides to the struggle, so please, please, anime onlys, Arknights is not propaganda, I swear. I swear. Anyway, it's gonna pay off, I swear. Arknights Perish in Frost, episode 11. Not my favorite episode. Next episode is gonna be pretty cool. For now, that should be it. What do you guys think about it? Leave your comments down below.